Hi friends, welcome to Business as Usual. My name is Sarah Hill. I'm the founder of Courtesy of Creative, and thanks for joining us today on our first IGTV episode. Right now, I just wanted to provide a ton of information, everything that I could possibly think of that has been successful for our business as we work remote, and I've worked remote for the past 4 years, as well as just providing tools and insight for people who are now really focusing on the digital space for their business or maybe their just hobby and passion project during this time of just uncertainty. And first and foremost, our hearts go out to everyone who is really struggling during this time, whether it's family, sickness itself, or just business in general. I know it's a really hard time for this economy and for all the wonderful small business owners that are out there. So I just want to say, hang in there, and hopefully this information can give you a little bit of insight and push you forward to make business as normal and as usual as possible during this time. So first and foremost, I just want to let you know I'll be referencing my notes, so I'll be looking back and forth. But essentially, this series is for small business owners who may already be focusing in the digital space, but now really need to maximize and leverage all the marketing channels that we have. Maybe for business owners who initially had a storefront and now they've closed and now they need to focus on the digital efforts, or for those who just have are creative and they have a passion project or a hobby they've been wanting to do and put out to the world on social media, but they're not really sure where to start or how to do that, especially during this time and the conversations that are happening on social already. So it's not strictly social media focused, but that's a lot of what we'll talk about. But today the episode is actually about more working from home and the structure and workflow that can help you be successful, whether you have a home office or you're working in your dining room table. We're going to talk through some processes and systems to help you maximize that time working from home and allow you to have a good work-life balance. So, like I mentioned, I've worked from home for 4 years now, and I feel like I've got a good idea about how to separate personal life from work, but it still is going to overlap. So it's really about the systems that you choose help you turn on work mode when you're working and turn off when you're done. So first and foremost, project management. So essentially, to-do lists on paper are my favorite, but I like transitioning it to a digital space. Also, when you have a team and when you have people that you're working with remotely and handing off assets or projects or trying to have conversations about them, a project management system on the web is super beneficial. So the one we use is called Asana. And essentially, Asana is great for file sharing and commenting on tasks, having deadlines, sharing it with your team and maybe even your client if you are still working with clients remotely. This is a great place to keep everything together. Again, we personally use Asana, but there are a lot of other ones out there. Trello is one of them. It's kind of like a sticky note vibe, and then there's also Mondays and Basecamp and just so many others that I can't think of right now, but I'm just speaking to Asana because that's what we use and it is free. There is a premium upgrade if you want more control over how you organize your content, but we'll link that in the show notes as well as all the other resources I'm talking about today. So that's the first thing to put in place is a good project management system. Next is your communication. So I have a really hard time wanting to just text, whether it's our team or maybe a client, just text a quick question or get a quick answer, but that also really blurs the lines in terms of or your boundaries, or if you're communicating via email and text and your project management system, a lot of conversation can get lost. So really set the tone with your team or your client on what those communication channels are. So my favorite to use for internal is called Slack. And we use that similar to project management, where you can have individual channels and projects that you can talk to certain team members on, and that's kind of grouped in its own channel. Or you can have private messages, just like instant messaging or iMessaging or whatever you use to text, the same experience, but it's actually housed in its own app called Slack. So this way you can have it on your computer, you can have it on your phone, and during your work hours, that's where you communicate with your team. So whether you're going to use Slack or WhatsApp, just make sure that those hours are really set in stone so people know when they can reach out to you and when the communication is best. So that way you can also turn off those apps or those notifications when you're trying to be present at home. It's really great just to have that boundary in the beginning. So that's the two main communication tools that we use. And then when it comes to just organizing your business as a whole, really take this time to figure out what those processes are for maybe billing or writing proposals or understanding your cash flow during this time. And my favorite platform to use for that is FreshBooks. So while it is, you do have to pay for that platform, it pulls in all of your maybe it's your business account, bank account, and all of the expenses that you want to flag. It also allows you to make invoices and estimates and proposals catered to your brand that you can accept payment through that platform, or you can download as a PDF and mark as paid. So however your client or your customer does want to pay you, at least there's this one central space that every invoice and every bill is in, so you can track that cash flow. So again, we use FreshBooks, but there's many out there. There's QuickBooks, there is HoneyBook, which is used a lot of photographers and creatives and videographers. But really it's whatever experience you like best, and again, we'll link all of these options in the show notes. So those are the three main areas that I would look into for streamlining your process and your workflow. And once you have all that down, next would be your work environment. So as you can see, I have kind of a nice little desk set up here. It's actually normally facing a different direction because we have the beach and the ocean to look out to in Guam, which I'm so thankful for. But for some business owners, whether you do work in a dining room or you're a little area in your bedroom or you have an office space, really make that a place that you enjoy, that you can focus on work and not get distracted by everything that's going on in your house. I know I'm really bad about that. I want to clean everything the moment I have a bunch of tasks to do, or I want to do the dishes when I don't need to. I need to focus on work. So really identify what that space is. Make it an inspirational area for you to spend your time in, and then denote what those working hours are by a sign or maybe a light that you make with your kids that's off and on that says, you know, I'm working or I'm available, and really set those boundaries with anyone in your household, because just because everyone's at home during this time doesn't mean we're not able to separate ourselves to get things done, even though you're in a confined space. So invite your family into that conversation, or your roommates, and say, hey, how can we make this work for all of us in this space when we have things to get done? And set those boundaries, set those, maybe it's a tangible sign, or maybe it's just those hours that you're dedicating to work, and really be clear about that throughout your whole family. So yeah, obviously the inspirational workspace, you know, whether it's getting some plans and getting your file system set up on your desk with your notepads, obviously coffee every day. Just make that a really great space for you to be able to work from home successfully. One area I want to touch on is time batching versus task batching. So this is another, I guess, workflow area that we can dive into a bit more, just to help you organize the items that you have to do each day. We talked about this a little bit on one of our Instagram stories, but I want to make this more of a long-term piece and add it into this session. So essentially, think about how you work best. Do you work best under time constraints, or do you work best by finishing a group of items at once? So as an example, if you're task batching, Write down every single task that you have to do during the day and prioritize it and group them together. So as an example, we do a lot of web work, always in Squarespace or WordPress, making site edits and updating content. So on Mondays, I've designated that as just my maintenance Monday, where we are working on web stuff and just maintaining current websites. So that's an example of task batching. Time batching would be if you want to break out whether you have certain clients or if you have just a certain area that you want to stay focused in, whether it's maybe making your products, like actually hands-on, and say, I only want to do product making during 10 to 12 in the morning, and that's a 2-hour window. It could be even smaller, it could be 30 minutes. And really section out the stuff that you have to do and put a time limit on it. So you can get as much items as you can get done within that time and then switch to another task after that 30 minutes or hour window. This also gives you an opportunity to get up, walk around, get some more coffee or water, and take a mental break to reset for that next task. So it really just depends on how you work best. Essentially, I work really well doing task batching, so putting all of the social graphics we do in one day, and having all of our meetings in one day. That's one thing that I've tried to be better at, is just, even though it can be very draining, any Zoom meetings we have, it's as much as possible in one day. That way the following week is actually finishing those tasks from that meeting or sending follow-up emails, and I'm not having to jump around between making content, doing web updates, and taking meetings all in one day. So figure out what works best for you, but that's another way to help streamline your process at home. And then finally, let's talk about some resources that are out there right now that are giving you discounts or free opportunities because of this epidemic that's happening. And we have a list of them here. I'm just going to read through some of them in all categories across the board. So whether it's for business, maybe it's for family, maybe it's for your education, there's and wellness, there's a lot out there. So first and foremost, Adobe is offering free 90-day access to Adobe Connect for education. And Creative Cloud is also offering students and teachers a free trial, I believe. There is Amazon Prime, there's kids programming that's available for free. There is Audible, which has free kids books that you can access on your computer or iPad through the web browser instead of the Audible app. Skillshare is great for learning new skills and brushing up on anything you can imagine, from cooking to crocheting to photography. Anything you want to learn, Skillshare is now offering 2 months free access for high school and college students. There's a lot of other just really great tools. Like I said, we'll post this in the show notes. Zoom is offering a free basic package, and that's what we use for video conferencing. And if you saw our latest social post, you saw that Zoom or other brands are now providing virtual backgrounds for Zoom conference calls. So it's a little more fun. If you are in maybe a not so inspirational space at home, you can change the background to be outside at the beach or in a really well-designed living room or office space, and kind of make that a fun interaction with those that you're on the Zoom call with. So that's a really cool thing. Headspace is an app for guided meditations, and it's great to just start your day, end your day with, or wherever you need a break. They're offering free guided meditations and exercises for business owners and their teams. So that's really cool. And then Unmind is offering a channel on Slack where they're just sharing tips and resources about mental well-being in the workplace. So especially right now when you're working from home, that's a great channel to join and just see the resources that they're sharing through Slack. So those are, like I said, just a few. We will put the remaining, after we do some more research, we'll find some more resources for small business owners. And there's a lot of other platforms that are also sharing financial tools. So whether you do need to get a loan or a grant, or you're worried about taxes, we'll also put some links to those resources to help answer those questions during this time. Overall, we hope that this series really helps bring some tangible resources and tools so you can move your business forward during this time, whether you are working from home, whether you need to shift your business in a new direction. Let's try to make it as usual as possible and just tap into all those resources that are offered online and really just own that this is our new normal. How can we make it beneficial for all of us? So tune in next week or in the next few days for another episode talking about social media and how to create content for your brand. Thanks for tuning in.